The new Middle East, as seen by Netanyahu, Israel's far right, reveals long-standing plans for dominance over the Levant. Following the collapse of Bashar al-Assad's regime in Syria in December 2024, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu stood atop a newly seized peak of Mount Hermon, declaring that Israel would remain in control of the area for a long time. 3 months later, in March 2025, he returned to proclaim, "We have changed the face of the Middle East." This statement provoked mockery from Netanyahu's opponents, who questioned whether the change was truly in Israel's favor. Yet among his supporters, especially on social media, it was hailed as a complete victory. Meanwhile, Israeli security agencies reopened their archives, retrieving old maps that had long outlined expansionist ambitions. These plans, designed to project Israeli influence across all neighboring countries, are now back in play, no longer hidden, but overtly embraced. In the current Israeli government, several ultra-nationalist parties are not only endorsing these strategies, but seeking even more aggressive measures. Though often dismissed as fringe factions, they wield significant influence over Netanyahu's decisions and have effectively blocked ceasefire negotiations in Lebanon and prisoner swap deals with Gaza. They are also driving efforts to impose Israeli sovereignty over the West Bank, preventing any diplomatic breakthrough. Significantly, these ambitions are not limited to the political right. Security agencies and senior figures in the broader political leadership support them as well. Some of these plans may appear new, but are deeply rooted in Zionist history, such as the vision of a state stretching from the Nile to the Euphrates, symbolized by the 2 blue lines flanking the Star of David on Israel's flag. More recently, this expansionist vision has been scaled back to include parts of southern Syria, southern Lebanon, Jordan's eastern valley, Gaza, and portions of Egypt's Sinai Peninsula. Israel 2. The Think Tank Plan. In March 2025, the Misgav Institute, a think tank closely affiliated with Netanyahu, released a proposal for a new Israel, dubbed Israel 2. Founded in 2023 and headed by Mir Ben-Shabbat, Netanyahu's former national security advisor and envoy to Arab and Western states, the institute framed the October 7, 2023 Hamas attack as a game-changing event. In its preamble, the institute declared, "The October 7th assault was no less than a wake-up call for the Israeli state and society, a paradigm-shifting event requiring urgent rethinking and adaptation. Israel must undergo comprehensive restructuring, renew its national identity, and prepare for the decades ahead. In many ways, this is a war of rebirth. Out of immense darkness emerges a new Israel rising from the ruins." This renewal, according to the proposal, demands a clearly articulated strategic vision backed by broad political consensus, including cooperation with the parliamentary opposition and deep coordination with the United States. Core elements of the plan include neutralizing Iran's nuclear capabilities, establishing a new geopolitical arrangement with Turkey, and dividing spheres of influence in Syria, halting Egyptian violations of the peace agreement, capitalizing on this historic moment to act more independently and reshape northern Israel's borders, in tandem with military operations to destroy the remnants of the Syrian army. Israel must entrench itself politically to ensure that any new regime in Damascus poses no future threat. Strategic vision and military doctrine. Finance Minister Bezalel Smotrich, who also serves as a second minister in the Defense Ministry, echoed this approach as far back as 2017 in a paper titled The Decisive Plan, where he described Jordan as the true Palestinian state. Netanyahu himself has pushed for re-engineering Arab consciousness so that populations across the region would come to accept Israel, just as post-war Japan and Germany came to praise the United States as liberators. A dominant, powerful Israel spanning Syria and Lebanon, Netanyahu argues, is the shortest route to this ideological transformation. Reflecting the government's stance, the Israeli military has revised its doctrine in response to the October 7th attack. determining that similar strikes could emanate from any neighboring country. Consequently, Israel is shifting from a defense and deterrence posture to a strategy of offensive defense and preemptive strikes. The new military strategy defines three concentric security rings around Israel. 1. Inner ring, fortified border defenses, and an integrated surveillance network. 2. Second ring, security belts within enemy territory, sealed zones restricted to Israeli-authorized personnel, already in place in southern Lebanon, Syria, and Gaza. 3. Third ring, demilitarized zones deep within neighboring countries, from Damascus south and west in Syria, from the Litani River southward in Lebanon, all of Gaza. Syria, revisiting the Zionist blueprint. Israel has resurrected its century-old Zionist aspirations in Syria, targeting the Golan Heights and its water sources. The Zionist leadership initially proposed such claims at the 1919 Versailles Conference, and in 1925 called for the partition of Syria and Lebanon into sectarian states, envisioning a Druze buffer state east of Israel. On January 9, 2025, an unnamed senior Israeli official told Yedioth Ahronoth that Syria's new leadership remains part of the global Islamic Jihad, feigning openness toward the West and Israel as part of a deceptive long-term strategy. On March 8, Ma'ariv reported that Netanyahu had stated the Israeli military will not allow jihadist forces to establish presence south of Damascus and will maintain control of the area until a full international peace agreement is signed. Israel is also reportedly negotiating with Turkey to divide spheres of influence in Syria, demanding recognition of its decisive role in Assad's downfall. When interim Syrian leader Ahmad al-Shara announced he had no interest in further conflict and would abide by the 1974 disengagement agreement, Israel responded with overwhelming force, carrying out over 500 airstrikes and claiming to have destroyed 85% of Syria's air defenses. Israeli forces now occupy all of Mount Hermon and 400 square kilometers east of the Golan Heights. Lebanon, a century-old objective. Israel's ambitions in Lebanon mirror those in Syria. During the Versailles Conference, Zionist leaders requested the annexation of southern Lebanon up to the Litani River. In 1925, they again proposed a Druze state, aiming to divide and weaken Arab unity, particularly targeting leaders like Sultan Pasha al-Atrash, who led a multi-sectarian revolt. Israel later supported the idea of a Christian state in Lebanon and became deeply involved in its internal politics, well before the Palestinian presence intensified. Even after the unilateral 2000 withdrawal, Israel maintained significant intelligence and military presence, executing assassinations and surveillance operations against Hezbollah. Currently, Israel holds 9 positions in southern Lebanon, citing security reasons. Jordan, the right's Palestinian solution. Despite the 1994 peace treaty and ongoing security cooperation, Israel's far right still views Jordan as the alternative Palestinian state. Their aim is to push Palestinians from the West Bank and Gaza into Jordan, a strategy not only discussed, but formally incorporated into their political agendas. Strategic delusions. Israel's belief that military power can translate into regional re-engineering is not universally shared. Even right-wing scholars are skeptical. Professor Ephraim Inbar, head of the Jerusalem Institute for Strategy and Security, criticized these expansionist dreams. Israel, like other foreign powers, including the United States in Afghanistan and Iraq, has limited ability to reshape Middle Eastern nations. Even with its overwhelming military superiority, Israel failed to install a new government in Lebanon in 1982.